I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside, it's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off road. The guy managed the group. He was like, "What are you doing in this beautiful car?" I'm like, "I'm going off road." He's like, "Are you sure? Because you can use one of ours." And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, "No, no, 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 we're going to do this." And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability as well as its robust interior are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the two-door Defender 90, the four-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
These days, we're all investors, trying to be smart with our money despite our worst impulses. But at iShares, we believe that deep down inside of every investor is a better investor. One that's just waiting to be let out. Explore iShares ETFs and insights and let your best investor out. Visit iShares.com for more information.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show.
So all day long, we all see things that are quirky or interesting to us. I decided, okay, for the first part of this day, I'm going to just write down everything or some of the things that were unusual or interesting for me to see and learn. And then I always forget them. So I figured, okay, I'll write them down and that's way I'll remember them. And some of these are pretty interesting. But I'm going to start it off, and Jay, you might pipe in if something.
I have questions. Where do you find all this thing? Like, you don't just go around read book. I mean, you read tons of books, right? But like,
I honestly
that day, it's
don't remember. I can't remember things anymore.
like how do you just go to like a website? Like, which website do you go to learn about all these things? It's not just regular thing. It's just weirdest thing that I don't even think
I
of.
think I think of questions, and this is how, in general, I think of questions and then I Google to learn the answer. Or I'll see an article and that article will lead to other articles. I don't know. Let's see if we can connect the dots. Here's some things I've learned
Yes.
in the past day.
Yeah, because like, let's talk about the first one because you sent me the list, right? So like, so I get to see beforehand. I will let you talk about the first one, and then I have questions about the first one.
Okay, so basically in the first one, this leads to the fact that the human race is dying out. And the reason is not because of any of the obvious reasons like nuclear war or climate change or anything like that, but basically we don't have enough kids to replace the adults. So 2 adults are needed to make a kid. So every 2 adults should try to have at least a little more than 2 kids because some kids die. So
Right.
basically, with today's population growth and the mortality rate of babies, to sustain a population, to keep it just level, like every woman needs to have 2.1 babies. That's just the bare minimum. And on average, I mean, some women might have 4, some might have 0, but on average, every woman needs to have 2.1 babies in order for a population to stay at the same level generation after generation. And now for the world, I don't know what it is. It's higher than 2.1 because the population is growing, but that's because of developing countries. But in the US, the number is not 2.1, it's 1.6. I don't know how many generations that gives us, but like in 5 or 6 generations, we're going to have significantly, if this remains the same, that if on average, if every woman has only 1.6 babies instead of 2.1, the US population will shrink unless there's immigration.
So the question is, do you just sit around and say, should I have more babies? And then you just start to find it.
I think I was researching how Japan for a long time has not, they haven't, I don't know what it is, but they've had population, they've had an aging population. So not enough young kids are born and everybody's getting older. So the population hasn't gone down necessarily because people are living longer, but there's not enough kids. Once the older people die off, there's not enough kids and there's not enough like middle-aged adults to support the older people who are retired, which is why Japan's in this constant kind of, it's sort of like in a permanent recession. And
Right.
because,
Yeah.
if everybody is 90 years old and the 30-year-olds are paying taxes to support the 90 years olds, and that means there's all these non-productive people in society. Not that older people aren't productive, like they give advice and mentoring and so on, but they're not building cars or computers or anything like that.
Right.
So
I remember reading somewhere that even the Prime Minister of Japan urging young people having more sex to have more sex.
just like God said, be
Yes.
fruitful and multiply. And that is a commandment for a reason, or else the human race disappears. So again, in
Right.
the US, it's 1.6. Europe and China come in at 1.5 and 1.3. Now,
Mm.
I don't know. Europe, I remember reading this about Italy. I didn't know it was across all Europe. But it turns out to be. And China, I guess, because of their 1 or 2 child policy,
One child.
and because of the fact that they have so much emphasis on just having boys, I think there's various issues where they're coming in now even lower than the government wanted. So these are serious
Right.
problems, but I don't care about them. But I wonder what the world's going to be like 4 or 5 generations from now if the population is going to actually start shrinking in unhealthy ways. So something to keep in mind.
Right. Like, what can they do to solve this problem? Because I felt like younger people, like for me, like I don't want to have more than one children. Like having more children, one is expensive, two is stressful, and three is I felt like we are just getting older and older before we get married.
Well,
And have
that's
kids.
what's happening in the US is that first off, people used to have like 5 or 6 kids because there was a lot of kids would die when they were young, and then they stopped dying, and so that the population grew very quickly in the US because of medical technology improving, and then people started having less kids as a natural result. But now I think because of career stuff, people are focusing on their career early on and having fewer and fewer kids, or they're having their kids later in life, so not as much opportunity to have like 3 kids. But it reminds me, you kind of have to encourage more happy accidents. So I don't know if I told you this story. I was in an Uber. I was coming home from Dallas where I played in a recent tournament, and I was in an Uber, and the Uber driver, I don't know how we got started talking. The Uber driver started telling me how he just discovered and he was like 60 years old. He just discovered he had a fully grown another child. And
What?
yeah, he had a child that he didn't know about. And his son called him up. His son was like in Afghanistan, and his son, in the military. His son calls him up and says, "Dad, you didn't tell me I had a brother." And the driver was telling me, I said to my son, "What the hell are you talking about?" And the son said, "Yeah, this guy called me up and said he was linked to me on like 23andMe, and he's my brother through you. You're the father." And the Uber driver like turns to me. He knows my name because it's on the Uber app, and he says, "James, I tell you, I was surprised as hell. Like nobody had told me I had this kid." Then he found out the whole story. This girl he fooled around with in high school, like she was from another school. She was at like a high school dance. They went in the bushes. One thing led to another, and he never saw this girl again. And well, she had moved away and had a kid from him.
Oh.
She never contacted him or anything. But I remember one thing he told me. He said, "The funny thing is, I was always carrying a condom around in my wallet just in case something like this happened. And my mom saw the condom in the wallet 6 months earlier before this incident at the dance. My mom saw the condom in the wallet and she threw it out. She yelled at me. She said, "What is this?" She threw it out. And I said to him, "You mean your mom actually thought you, a 17-year-old at the time, would make you not have sex with another willing 17-year-old if you simply didn't have a condom? Like, she thought that would dissuade you because you would be
Right.
responsible and make the correct decision." And he was like, "That's what she thought." And she was wrong. It was, I still, condom or not, nothing was going to stop me. And so that kid has a whole other son now that he's getting to know. But the point is,
Hmm.
just got to have more accidents like that, and that's how you increase the population.
I feel like it's both. There's pros and cons in the accident, right? It's a good accident if both sides has consensus, like both sides consent to it.
It's
Yeah,
not a happy accident if it was rape. That's
yeah,
so
right.
yes, both
So
sides
I just want to put it
consent.
out there.
But the whole thing
Yeah,
is that, okay, he didn't know he had a son, but she might not have known who the father was.
right.
But 23andMe has discovered something like 3%
Yeah.
of the people who use 23andMe discover that the people they thought were their dads are not their real dads.
All right, James. I have a very, very dilemma type of question to ask you.
Yes.
This is gonna be dark very quickly.
Okay, go for it.
So, if you were dating someone, you fool around. Of course, you fool around or whatever, and then all of a sudden you found out they were your siblings. What will you do? Would you stop right away, or would you keep dating him? Them,
I don't know, because let's say we didn't plan on having kids, and let's say we weren't
right?
raised together. Let's say we were going out for 2 years.
Right.
So, first off, the thought of going out with any of my siblings repulses me completely, mostly because of my siblings.
Hmm.
But the reality is, if I knew someone actually, I would just instantly stop it. It's too weird.
Well, because you didn't know, right? Like, so let's say like both of you. Okay, so let's say both of you don't know your father at all. Like all of a sudden, it's just that
No, it's too
you do like
repulsive.
23 and
The
me,
thought of it is too repulsive. If I found out something like
so you would
that,
stop right
I
away,
would just end it.
even though if you dated 5 years in.
No, definitely not. Would end it.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. I think depends how the relationship go because I felt like if you didn't grow up with someone, I felt like it's I don't know, like I felt like it's weird too. So that's why I say it's gonna get dark very quickly. I I myself think I might be still gonna keep going because 5 years in, if you didn't know that, what good does it do you if you know it right now, right? If you if you don't plan to have kids, so you probably never gonna plan to have kids anymore. But yeah, that's just what I thought.
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess technically, if two siblings don't know their siblings and they agree not to have kids, there really shouldn't be a problem with it. But there is a reason why biologically siblings shouldn't date. And we don't know
Yes.
all the reasons, but one reason is because when they have kids, the kids could be messed up. So,
Is it the first generations get messed up, or is it like have to be
no, no,
multiple
that's why so
generations?
many royal families have problems because
Right.
they're all dating not just their siblings but their cousins, which is several generations, 2 generations away instead of 1 generation.
Right.
Um,
So this is what I learned that interracial dating is probably the best.
yeah,
You
and
just
you
know
know
you just
for sure,
never run
but
into
maybe not. Maybe you don't know
yeah.
for sure. You never know. Um, I'm trying to see if there's
I have
any
a,
modern examples, but I can't really find any.
yeah, well, because my girlfriend asked me because she apparently she saw it on her Facebook that these two guys dated, and then they found out they were brothers.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
and then that's why she asked me about it.
so look, I'm looking at an article that was written in June 2022. That they're two girls. They were dating for 2 years, and they found out that they might be half siblings because after they found out their mothers had relations with the same man, so they might be half siblings.
Right.
And let me see if there's another example.
This is how James learned new things every day.
Yeah, just talking and then like just going down the rabbit hole. Let's not forget a very famous case, by the way, from the movies where two siblings kissed each other. And you know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes. And the father was hunting them down, and then they hate the father, and then the father cut off the brother's hand, and then and asking the brother to join the dark side or
Yeah,
whatever.
Darth Vader, because at the end of Star Wars, Luke and Leia had a kiss. And they
Yeah.
never really addressed that afterwards because I think George Lucas didn't really
No.
know how Star Wars was going to turn out, and he couldn't get rid of that. That was such a great ending to Empire Strikes Back, finding out that Darth Vader was Luke's father, but Luke and Leia shared a kiss, so that should never have happened.
Just a kiss. Kiss is nothing.
Kiss is nothing. Yeah, who cares?
Yeah.
But Luke kind of had a crush on her, though. He's like, "Oh wow, I got to save the princess." Like he was.
It could be a brotherly crush. It's good brotherly, like sibling crush. Like I love my sister or I love my brother. You know.
Now
The
now
type
that
of
I
love.
think about it, though, it was so clear when Luke saw the hologram of her in the beginning of Star Wars, and then it was like, "Oh my God, she's beautiful. I've got to save her." Like Obi-Wan Kenobi was right there, and he was the one who, as babies, he took Luke to one planet and Leia to another planet, so they wouldn't grow up together. So he was
Yeah.
like grooming Luke to have sex with his sister.
Yeah. Obi-Wan even met Leia.
Yeah.
When she was like 10.
Oh yeah, right. Because they in Kenobi or
Obi-Wan.
whatever.
Yeah, Kenobi. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he knew the whole thing. He was
He
like,
knew.
"Yeah, Luke, you love her, don't you? Let's go save her." And so, man, a lot of stuff about Star Wars.
It's Obi-Wan's fault. Yeah. I know.
So okay, the next thing I learned, I saw this graphic, the odds of death. So this is the odds. It's like the odds of dying by a motorcycle accident, the odds of dying from a medical procedure, the odds of dying from a lightning strike. So Jay, it's 101 to 1. Like 1% of people, I guess, die in motor vehicle accidents during their lives over a period of 77 years. I say the average life expectancy is 77 years.
But I drive Tesla. It's going to be really safe. No.
You could drive basically blindfolded in a Tesla and supposedly you won't get into an accident, right? How many people have died in Teslas?
I don't know if you can ever find that stat. Can you?
Yeah, there's stats for everything. Let's see, Tesla deaths every year.
Oh, it's only a couple.
Yeah, there's been 8 so far this year. But it's mostly because they always say it's like a speeding Tesla hits pedestrian. That's somebody's fault. Tesla crashes into resident's pool. That is not good, Jay. So, okay, but look, altogether there's something like 50,000 deaths in the U.S. a year from car accidents. 8 from Tesla is not a bad result. I mean, all those deaths are horrible and we're sad for them, but okay, is what it is. But let's compare that though. So again, there's roughly a 1 in 100 chance or a 1% chance every year.
1 out of 101 would die.
Okay, the odds of dying in a medical procedure, like a surgery, for instance, 798 to 1. Okay, so
I felt like it should be higher. I felt like I always heard about people like die from medical surgery.
have you ever had a surgery?
No.
I've never had surgery. So as long as you never have surgery, you're never going to die from surgical care. But we've all been in cars like thousands of times.
Oh, yeah.
But it's much less for surgery. I mean, this kind of shows surgery is fairly safe. It's like everyone always, when they go under, they like tell my kids I love them. But it's very rare. 1 in about 800 die during their lives from surgery. Alcohol poisoning is double that. 1 in 1,600 die from alcohol poisoning. So basically, this is a good way to avoid death. If you never have surgery, if you never get in a car, if you never drink alcohol, none of these things will happen to you. So 1 in 1,600 people die from alcohol poisoning. 1 in 138,000 die from lightning. I thought that would be higher.
Well, it's not that easy. I mean, so for lightning, you also have to think about the geographical, right? Like how many people live on top of a mountain, and how many people live at the low ground. Because the higher you go, the chances of you getting hit by a lightning is better. It's great.
How come?
Well, because you're closer to the cloud. I could be bullshitting here, but from what I understand is, the the charges will go to your body easier.
So it's like the lightning seeks out the closest thing.
Yeah, so if you're on a higher ground, right? That's why they if you're on a higher ground, you get struck by lightning easier than when you're on a lower ground.
Let me see.
We should have Brian Keating on for this.
Yeah, where's our Nobel
called Brian
Prize
right
loser when we need him?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a shorter air gap between the lightning stroke and the object. So I don't know why that makes a difference, but apparently you want to get me a low ground.
Exactly. Exactly. My mom is a science teacher, so my science never failed.
Oh, I didn't know. What type of science does she teach?
General science.
Like high school
it's
kids?
just like a primary school. Yeah.
Wow, 1 in 10,000 people. So okay, wait, 1 in 138,000 lightning strike. Here's one. 1 in 57,825 die from a bee or a wasp sting. That's pretty scary. That's 1 in 11,756 people die in an airplane accident.
Okay.
Which, again, I used to be afraid to fly. Like whenever there was turbulence, I was terrified. And the one thing now that it completely changed it within seconds. And this is why the importance of mindset, which we talk about on the podcast so much, is so important. Like I switched my mindset about turbulence, and that as soon as there's turbulence, I want the airplane to crash. Like I want to land on the island of Lost. Remember the TV show Lost?
Right.
And so I hope that the airplane crashes so I could go to the island of Lost. So that's what I'm really praying for. And I've learned to love turbulence. So hopefully, good. Everyone says, well, I don't want to be on a plane with you. And I always say to them, me thinking that I want a plane crash does not make the plane crash. That has never in the history of the universe ever made a plane crash. So
it's just like if you pray on a plane, it's never gonna make the plane any safer.
Yes, exactly. So 1 in 11,000 airplane accident, very similar to that. 1 in 10,386 people die from drowning other than in a pool. How do you drown? Where do you drown?
So like if you're in a river and it's a gushing river, then you drown in a gushing river.
God, that's gotta be...
Like sometimes people don't know how to swim. 2, depends like the quality of the water. Like if the water is gushing and it's pulling you, it's hard for you to swim away from it.
By the way, Alec Baldwin, very unlucky man. 1 in 7,998 people die from accidental firearm discharge.
Didn't he? Was he guilty? I think he was guilty, right?
Shot the gun. I don't know. I don't know if he's guilty or not.
No,
I mean, there was all.
No, but like the court sentenced as guilty.
Oh, really? Is he going to jail?
I don't know. Like, have you heard of any famous people go to jail?
Rappers. They always put rappers in jail. R. Kelly's going to jail.
If you're not a fight.
But it's pretty rare then to die from an accidental firearm discharge. 1 in 8,000, and Alec Baldwin is part of that. Choking on food, 1 in 2,700. Wait, that's ugly. I don't want to choke on food. Oh, drowning in a swimming pool as opposed to drowning in the ocean or river, 1 in 5,882. No problem. Don't go in a swimming pool. You won't drown.
Then go to swimming. No.
By the way, who drowns in a swimming pool? I guess like babies, but do other people drown in a swimming pool?
Well, sometimes you get cramp, right? So like if you never warm up before you dive in the pool, or you never warm up properly, you get cramp and then you just can't swim and you die. You get drowned in the pool.
That's got to be a horrible way. Drowning seems to be a pretty horrible way to die. That's my odds of death chart. So on to the next one. You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players, and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of PrizePicks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. Look, PrizePicks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. PrizePicks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get two memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply. I was curious about this. There's this couple, the Gottmans, I think they're in Seattle.
Mhm.
They meet thousands of married couples per year, and they could tell just at a glance if the couple is going to stay together or not. So they have,
Wait,
yeah,
really?
we should get them on the podcast. Can you find them?
I've Yeah, you have to send me the name. I wonder if that's a curse or that's the blessing.
Well, they use this ability that they've learned to help people. And so they have 7 principles for making a marriage work. Principle number 1, sharing love maps, which is like telling the other person in the couple what you love and what you don't love. Number 2, nurturing fondness and admiration. So even when you're feeling angry at the other person, which you invariably will, cultivate, like, always remind yourself that you admire this about the person, and that you're fond of them and you became fond of them because for these reasons. Number 3, turn towards each other instead of away. So if something bothers you about the person, don't just ignore them or do the silent treatment. Turn towards them and be loving, and say, hey, this bothers me, and talk about it, and remind each other you love each other. So turn towards each other instead of the silent treatment or the cold treatment or whatever. Let your partner influence you. Like if they make a suggestion, you should always consider it. And so this is the fourth principle for making a marriage work. Let your partner influence you. When I was doing stand-up comedy, I would always ask couples in the audience, how long have you been together? And if somebody's been together like 30 years, I would say, what's your secret? And one guy once said, it's 90-10, 90% me doing the work, 10% her doing the work. And then she said, it's 90-10, 90% me doing the work, 10% him doing the work. So it's 90-10 on both sides. And I thought that was a good answer. Number 5, solving your solvable problems. If, for instance, one side is Jewish, the other side is Catholic, that's a problem. Say, okay, maybe every other weekend we go to church, every other weekend we go to, I don't know, I'm just making it up, but solve your solvable problems. Or let's say one likes to travel, the other doesn't. Maybe you could say, hey, why don't you find some friends and go travel with them, and I'll stay home and play chess on the computer.
If it's Jewish and Catholic, do they celebrate Hanukkah and Christmas at the same time?
Well, when I was married to a Catholic, my children's mother is a Catholic. We would go to both things. We would go to like Passover dinners and Easter dinners and Christmas and all that sort of good stuff. And it was really boring. I hated all of it.
But your kids are having fun because
Maybe
they
they're
get
having
to
fun. I mean, even Passover dinners
presents.
are pretty boring, but you have to go to them. So, overcoming gridlock, which basically, if there's problems you can solve, you need methods for dealing with them, because you're going to have to live with this person the rest of your life. So if you do have methods for dealing with them, that's important if you want to spend the rest of your life with someone. And creating shared meaning together. So kids are, for instance, an example of shared meaning. Oh, we want to raise kids together and raise them to be good adults. So that's shared meaning. Or, hey, we want to, make money in our career so we can be philanthropic. We want to give to charity later. That's shared meaning. Or we both believe in this political belief, so we'll share. It doesn't mean you always have to believe in the same things, but find meaning for your marriage. Just like in Viktor Frankl's book, Viktor Frankl survived Auschwitz by finding meaning for why he should survive. So one thing he found was he wanted to see his wife again. Unfortunately, she died in another concentration camp, and he never saw her again. But another thing that kept him going was he found meaning in was that he wanted to write this philosophy of finding meaning. He wrote Man's Search for Meaning after Auschwitz. And so that kept him going. And so what they're basically saying there is not as, and by the way, I'm not comparing marriage to Auschwitz, although I have heard people compare it as such, but uh, as a married unit, find meaning for your marriage to keep going. So those are the Gottman couple, that's their 7 principles for making a marriage work.
Right. So out of us two, you have been married. Do you find those works? Have you used those at all?
Well, I've been divorced twice. So I will say not doing these could lead to divorce.
But are you doing this right now?
I try to. I mean, again, I just saw this list. So, and I think back,
Oh.
I would say sometimes I don't do these things. And so I need to work, assuming I want to stay with Robin, which I do, I need to start thinking of these a little bit more. I mean, everybody has their own methods for trying to stay in love. And some people, love changes during a marriage. Some people just like that feelings of just, oh, it's new and fresh and exciting. Some people like that. And then they get tired very easily after that. I don't think I'm like that. I think I like being with someone, but I would say, sometimes I get upset and I'm a little more silent than other times. And I never thought about this idea of creating shared meaning together, but that seems really important. Letting your partner influence you. I definitely do that. Robin, I mean, I never wanted pets. We've got like 4 pets now. So she's definitely influenced me. I didn't want to own a house. We own a house. So she definitely influenced me. And I do remember in times that we argue that I nurture fondness and admiration. I do try to do that. Because I know one thing is you
Right.
never want to feel contempt towards your partner. And
Mm.
I think that's one of the ways the Gottmans, they see couples talk to each other. And if there's any contempt, that's how they could tell it's not going to work out.
What do you mean by contempt?
Like they're like one partner's just disgusted with the other one.
Got it.
Okay. Oh, this was a good one. I don't know why I looked this up, but there's something called a Duchenne smile. And so I'll describe what it is in a second. But a Duchenne smile actually makes your brain feel less stressed. So a Duchenne smile has been shown to reduce stress even if you are faking a Duchenne smile. So what's a Duchenne smile? A Duchenne smile is where your cheeks are raised, so your lips are forming a smile, and there is the appearance of, so like your mouth corners are up like a smile. That's the raised cheeks. And then there's the appearance of eye wrinkles because your eyes are also like smiling. Like, you know how like if you're really smiling, like maybe your eyes are a little squinting. So there's the appearance of eye wrinkles in a Duchenne smile. So your eyes are smiling and your mouth is smiling. That's the easy way to say it.
I felt like I'm Asian, so my eyes always has wrinkles.
No. First off, Asians don't wrinkle at all. But that is a very, even though you're Asian, you might not be able to get away with saying that. So I could get away with saying a lot of things about Jews, but some things I got to be careful about. So think of it as a shortcut. If your eyes are smiling and your mouth is smiling, that's a Duchenne smile. But what's interesting is not only has a legit Duchenne smile been shown to reduce stress, but even if you're faking it, it'll reduce stress. So this is one of those scientific
wonder
studies
why.
where it actually seems like it could be useful. Like if I'm feeling stressed, just practice a Duchenne smile and see if it makes you less stressed. If anybody's listening to this podcast, write on Twitter if a Duchenne smile makes you feel less stressed the next time you're feeling stressed. And non-Duchenne smile, by the way, is just when your mouth corners are raised, but your cheeks aren't raised and your eyes aren't smiling. So that's the Duchenne smile. And I guess the final one I'll talk about here is, this is an email I got earlier today. And it says literally this: "Hi, James. Would you be interested in Dr. So-and-so, one of the world's leading authorities on artificial intelligence and the pioneer behind blah, 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 appearing on your podcast, the XX podcast, to discuss the massive progress being made within AI development?" So it actually does say the XX podcast. It doesn't say the James Altucher Show.
Wait. So like you're not censoring the podcast name. It literally just say XX podcast.
Right. I did say, okay, yeah, right. I did say censor the name and censored what this person created, but the letter actually says, would you be interested in this guy appearing on the XX podcast? And the XX podcast is in bold. So like really emphasizing, it's almost like a slap in my face. Like, not only are we not going to say the name of your podcast, we're going to just call it the XX podcast. We're going to put it in bold so you really notice that we completely are not paying attention to you at all. But can you still have this guy I mean, this guy is paying them. This is a PR firm. So this guy is paying them something like $20,000 a month to get him on podcasts. And this is the letter that they're sending out. So my conclusion was, most people just don't care about their jobs.
I gotta say, I get this type of email all the
But
time.
do they say the XX
people also
podcast, or they say, I mean, I get like form letters that say, but they still say the James Altucher Show.
Right. I think I got like XX podcast one, not XX podcast, but like some other people's podcast name.
Oh yeah.
Like-
I've seen, hey, would you like him to appear on the Jordan Harbinger Show? But usually I get like, I could tell they're just filling in the name, because
Right.
or I'll get something like, "Oh, I noticed you have a very interesting blog. I would love to be a guest writer on your blog." And so clearly they never researched my blog, which has 0 guest writers on it. So, so I wonder if people care about what they do most of the time.
Or they would just say like, "Hey, I really enjoyed the episodes." Which episode?
Yeah. If you say which episode, forget it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love these clothes. Mizzen and Main. That's Mizzen and Main. It really is the most comfortable work clothes. Travel clothes. I had to travel this whole week. I'm traveling for a week and a half, and I just took Mizzen and Main clothes with me. Close out 2023 in style with comfortable, breathable, packable, and machine washable pieces from Mizzen and Main. As you wrap up your year-end goals, enjoy a Mizzen and Main dress shirt that you can wear confidently. I like that they've very, very just nice, solid colors. I don't really like to get all fancy in patterns and everything, although they do have some pattern shirts, but very comfortable clothes, stretchable pants. It's just super comfortable, but they look professional and you can wear them casually or professionally. I like some of their flannel shirts or untuck shirts. I love untuck. I never tuck in. So again, whether you're shopping for a special someone or giving yourself the gift you really want, I just buy myself gifts. Mizzen and Main is the perfect gift for any guy who works, travels, and or cares about looking and feeling great. As you could tell by my many photos across the internet, I care about looking fantastic. I'm practically a model. And let's be honest, every guy loves to look great. So again, shop now at mizzenandmain.com and save 20% when you spend $130 or more using promo code James. That's promo code James at Mizzen and Main, Mizzen and Main.com. This is such a valuable service for all business owners, big businesses, small businesses, doesn't matter. I wish I had this in the many different businesses that I've started. Sometimes it seems like your business is humming, but then suddenly you don't understand it. You're starting to fall behind. You're not understanding where your costs are, where your revenues are, where your payments are. Teams are buried in all sorts of like BS work, and you can't seem to close the books. So you need like one dashboard, one source of truth. I'm jealous of this business, NetSuite from Oracle, of course, NetSuite by Oracle. I wish I'd come up with this idea. It's a brilliant concept to have all your business intelligence on one dashboard. This is why you need to know these three numbers: 37,000, 25, and 1. So 37,000, that's the number of businesses which have upgraded to NetSuite by Oracle. NetSuite is the number one cloud financial system, streamlining accounting, financial management, inventory, HR, and more. 25. NetSuite turns 25 this year. That's 25 years of helping businesses do more with less, close their books in days, not weeks, and drive down costs. 1, because your business is one of a kind. So you get a customized solution for all of your key performance indicators, your KPIs, in one efficient system with one source of truth. Manage risk, get reliable forecasts, and improve margins. Everything you need to grow all in one place. So right now, download NetSuite's popular KPI checklist designed to give you consistently excellent performance absolutely free at netsuite.com/James. That's netsuite.com/James to get your own KPI checklist. netsuite.com/James. The other thing I was researching was, you remember we had Stephen Kotler on the podcast a few weeks ago,
Of course.
and
yeah.
and he talked about peak performance, and he talked about how it's very important to, when achieving the flow state, that if you're trying to achieve the flow state after the age of 50, you need to be really good at forgiving people and not holding grudges. And I thought that was an odd thing. Like, what does it have to do with anything? And so I just did a little bit of research. And he said also, compassion meditation, as opposed to focus meditation, for whatever reason, was significantly more likely to help people achieve a state of forgiveness and not holding grudges. And so I looked this up. that basically when you are forgiving, they did like a brain scan. They could see when you're forgiving, as opposed to people who were not forgiving. Like, so they compared people who were having sympathy to people who are not having sympathy towards somebody. Apparently, there's something called the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex. So the dorsomedial prefrontal cortex, that is very active when you're in a state of feeling sympathy or forgiveness. And apparently, when you're doing compassion meditation, the exact same dorsomedial prefrontal cortex is activated. So that's why if you spend a lot of time with compassion meditation, you'll be a person who's more likely to forgive
I wonder if there's a way to trigger it.
by doing this compassion meditation.
Right, but other than that, like, could you like have like any medicine to trigger it, or like just electricity, put into your brain?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what like electricity. If they put like an electric pulse on that particular part of the brain, will that make you forgive people? I don't know. It sounds interesting.
If that's a thing, man, if that's a
I'll be wearing that
like
all day
a
long.
electric, I don't know. I'm
Can't
like,
believe-
yeah, the world would be.
Do you ever like
anything.
wake up in the morning and like you're thinking about someone who made you angry like 15 years ago and you're still thinking about it?
Oh yeah, I hold grudges. No, I don't hold grudges. But sometimes like it just pop into your mind, right? Like,
Yeah.
or you dream about them and then you woke up like, oh, that freaking guy,
Yeah, like that happens to me more than I would like. Like I think of myself in general as a forgiving person, but sometimes, you know, particularly when you put yourself out there with, and maybe this is true for everyone, but over the past 30 years, I've put myself out there with my writing, with my podcast. I've made a lot of friends through that, many more friends than enemies. I would say it's a 95-5 ratio, which is why, I've been able to sell books and have a podcast and so on. But every now and then, someone who doesn't like something I say knows how to press the right buttons. And maybe I know them or I used to know them and I did them a favor at some point and now they're saying these mean things about me. And I feel like this has happened to me more lately than in the past. And it's hard for me to sometimes forgive, but I try really hard. But, so since I've been reading about this, I've been doing more compassion meditation. So with compassion meditation, one form of it, there's many forms, but one form of it is you think of the person who you're having trouble forgiving, and maybe you think of all the things why you should be and could be compassionate towards that person. Like you don't know what's going on in their life, and there's many good things about them, and we're all human after all, and we all go through things that we're angry about, and on and on. So,
I also felt like the older you get, the easier you forgive people.
it's just been in the past few years I've had a
Right.
harder time with it.
I'm glad that you forgive me.
I
all the
forgive
time.
you all the time because you're constantly screwing up. But
I know.
ever since I found you, like just begging for money and as an illegal alien.
I don't know any English and stuff.
Yeah, you didn't know any English. I brought you onto the podcast, taught you English, and you're still messing up occasionally, but I forgive you.
English is my third language. That's why.
So, oh yeah, because Malaysian.
Yeah, I know Malay.
Is Malay very
English
different from
Malay.
Chinese? This is a stupid question.
Yes. It's Malay. It's close. It's funny. Malay is closer to Spanish.
Really?
Than
But what do the letters look like?
It's literally just alphabet. English and Spanish.
Why
Literally
is
just
that?
alphabet without the special symbol. I have no idea, to be honest.
I mean, it's really far
because-
from England, for instance.
Well, we were.
Oh yeah, it's totally the alphabet. How did this happen?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, we are a Commonwealth country, so we were conquered by British before, but I don't know why is it alphabets.
Oh yeah.
Like there's no special symbol. Like at least in Spanish, you have like special.
And how
symbol,
come
right?
English
like
though isn't one of your main languages?
English is the second one.
Oh, did you learn English?
Because yeah. Of course.
Oh,
yeah, because
You don't
we
sound
have
like
like a lot of different races.
you don't
Sorry?
sound like it though. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I don't sound like it because English, we are in the limbo, right? We love American movies, we love Western movie, whatever. but we have to learn British English too.
I think
So we're in the limbo. So we try to combine both, and then we also Chinese. We have Chinese accent as well, and then we have Malay accents as well. So it's like a whole mixture of different accents together, and then you have Malaysian accent.
I see. The arrival, I'm reading in Wikipedia, the arrival of European colonial powers brought the Latin alphabet to the Malay archipelago. Wait, Malaysia is an archipelago?
I guess Malaysia is because there is like some island around the peninsula that's Malaysian, but I don't know if that matters as much
Yeah, well, there it is.
to become one.
That's the last thing we're going to learn today. What an
Yes, about Malaysia.
So overall,
and also a trivia is when Japan invade Malaysia, they invade Malaysia on a bicycle.
you're kidding. Malay is that easy to take over?
Everybody,
Everybody,
well, it's because they are,
leave the tanks at home. We don't need them. Just put on your bicycle.
well, the reason why is
They all know
because
karate.
British.
They all watch the Karate Kid.
It's scary, but they're Japanese. But what happened is, I think there's a U.S. Air base in Singapore. They don't want to alert them, so they don't want to fly airplane and don't want to have like a tank. So
How'd they get their bicycles there?
bicycle? They're right. Bicycle is
Wait,
quiet
isn't
compared
Japan
to tank.
itself an island? This shows I'm a complete idiot on geography.
Yep. I think they took over something and then they bike down.
I see. So they brought all their bicycles to some other place in their empire,
Yeah.
and then rode their bicycle into Malaysia and took over.
Yeah, they took over one by one. Yeah, into Malaysia.
Hold on.
I think they were in Malaysia for 8 years or something.
Yeah, and they invaded on December 8th, 1941, the day after Pearl Harbor. Man, they had a busy week that week. Okay, this week, like I say, this week, I'll write one article and do a podcast. They were like, this week, we're going to be the first country to bomb North America, and we're also going to invade Malaysia the day after that and start World War II.
Yeah, and on a bicycle.
On bicycles. Man, they
Yeah.
were crazy in a good way, meaning they're kind of creative.
Right.
I'm not saying
I mean,
they did those things for anybody who wonders, but it's crazy. Let's invade. They had a lot of nerve. Let's put it that way. They had a lot of bravado.
And then there are tons of like propaganda going in too that help them the case, I believe. Like there's a lot of Chinese people that help them, invade China, and a lot of like, and then that's how they can slowly go to Malaysia, right on to Malaysia.
Well, it didn't work for them. It didn't work out for the Japanese, and now
Nope.
you were able to grow up in a non-Japanese Malaysia. So
Yeah. Though I always watch Japanese anime and cartoons.
I do too. Maybe because they invaded Pearl Harbor. I love anime. So what are the things we learned? Birth rate below replacement rate. The odds of dying from various accidents. Gottman's 7 principles for making a marriage work. What part of the brain controls forgiveness? And the Duchenne smile reduces stress even if you fake it. Most people don't care about their jobs. And we learned I didn't know December 8th, the day after Pearl Harbor. This is like pretty amazing date for me then. Like December 7th, Japan had a very big day, but they just did not rest.
Right.
Got to learn how to take a rest, and you won't have World War II.
That's why 4 hours work week is so important.
4-day work week. By the way, I'll throw out something. I'll just leave it on an inspirational note, which is according to Scott Barry Kaufman, he's a psychologist about creativity. Creativity is the intersection of intelligence and imagination. I like that. All right, Jay, thanks so much for doing this podcast with me. And everybody, I hope you enjoy it. Tweet out some of the things you learned today. I'd love to know because I'm always trying to learn new things. Thanks very much, everybody.
Entresto, sacubitril valsartan tablets, is the #1 heart failure brand prescribed by cardiologists and has helped over 1 million people with heart failure. It's a prescription medicine that treats adults with long-lasting chronic heart failure and works better when the heart cannot pump a normal amount of blood to the body.
Don't take Entresto if pregnant. It can cause harm or death to an unborn baby. Don't take Entresto with an ACE inhibitor or aliskiren, or if you've had angioedema with an ACE or ARB. Don't take with aliskiren or within 36 hours of taking an ACE inhibitor. The most serious side effects are angioedema, low blood pressure, kidney problems, or high blood potassium. Angioedema is swelling of your face, lips, tongue, and throat that may cause death. If it causes difficulty breathing, get emergency help.
Ask your doctor about Entresto. To learn more, visit support.entresto.com or call 833-446-6699. For pricing, visit Entresto.com/cost. If you can't afford your medication, Novartis may be able to help.
Make room in your closet because Clear the Rack is on at your Nordstrom Rack store. For a limited time, find incredible deals on wear now styles. We're talking the latest trends from your favorite brands, now on sale for even less at Nordstrom Rack. Take an extra 25% off red tag clearance throughout the store, including styles from Vince Camuto, Mark Fisher Ltd, Stuart Weitzman, and more. All sales final. The best stuff goes fast, so shop this sale at Nordstrom Rack today. Please see nordstromrack.com or ask a store associate for details.